Hello there. Welcome to the world of Pokémon. My name is Professor Fraxon. I am what people call a Pokémon professor. This world is inhabited by creatures called Pokémon. They swim in the water, run on the earth, and fly in the sky. Us humans live alongside these Pokémon as friends. Some of us battle with them to grow stronger, while others keep them as pets. I spend my time studying Pokémon, specifically how Pokémon may look different depending on where you find them in the world. Anyways, enough about me. Let's talk about you. Who are you? Ah, excellent. Well, I've had you for long enough. It's high time you get going, or you'll be late. The world of Pokémon awaits. Welcome back to PokePaint, everybody. I hope you liked my little prelude. I thought it was pretty appropriate to put that on this episode because today we finish the starter evolutions, draw up a map for our new region, and officially start our journey. Last time I made evolutions for the fire and grass type starter Pokemon, Foleep and Umbellion, in the forms of Crokick, Cafraga, Kimember, and Lelucent. That leaves for us the evolutions of Agwertle, the water type starter. In the first episode, I completely forgot to mention one of my main inspirations for Agwertle. If you remember, this region is based on the Virgin Islands, a place in the real world that I've actually been to several times. On my first trip there, when I was like 9, I visited St. John, one of the islands, and picked up this cute little sea turtle plush. This is super important to me as it's one of the few things that I've kept around since my childhood. So when I went to develop the starters for this region, a sea turtle was the first thing that came to mind, for this exact reason. And so, on to its evolution. Armortal. Its name combines the words armor and turtle. It took me a long time to figure out a design for Armortal that I actually liked, and I ended up coming back to this body type that was really far removed from its previous evolution. At first I was really iffy on it until I realized that Pokemon changing so drastically in shape over an evolution is pretty commonplace in the main series, and I mean honestly kind of the point of the whole thing. I really thought about the shape of Quilladin as I went into this final design, and it really worked out. There is a bit on the shell that looks like a shark fin, and although this is there to set up an aspect of the final evolution that isn't related to sharks at all, it kind of gives Armortal Gibble vibes, which, although it's not a shark at all, it's a welcome comparison, because I like Gibble. The main detail I wanted to push was to have it bulk up greatly, and I started applying some, armor padding to its design that will become very important in its final form. For now, Armortal, the sea turtle Pokemon, and the evolved form of Agwertle. In the wild, they live in organized groups similar in makeup to the way that humans organize fleets of boats. When they travel long distances, Armortals stay on the outside of their pack to protect the young and the elders. In a captive setting, this translates to a Pokemon who is fiercely loyal and focused on defense in battle. Tormarine is the final form, which combines the words Tortuga, which is the Spanish word for turtle, and submarine, which is the second design aspect for this design. In the last episode, you saw how each of the starters have a secondary inspiration to justify their secondary typing. For Cafraga, it was the Brazilian martial arts style capoeira, and for Lelucent, I implemented some ghost-like features as it being an invisible chameleon was an idea that both made too much sense and justified the secondary typing of Ghost. Tormarine, as I said back in episode 1, is a mix of turtle and submarine. I talked about giving each stage of this design details based on ranks in the military, but I actually dropped that idea pretty quick after it began to constrict where I wanted to go with these designs. I used some submarine design details on the shell and tail to make the design more obvious and break up the more bland features of the form. I actually based this Pokemon's body shape off an alternative Rhyperior design that I saw on a video by Hoops and Hip Hop. I'll link that here. This may be my favorite of the starter evolutions, but I feel like I say that every time. In reality, with these guys, it's a pretty close tie. Tormarine, the submerged Pokemon in the evolved form of Armortal. Tormarine are popular with starting trainers as they can take hits very well, which gives more margin for error during battle. On the other hand, an expert trainer can make devastating use of this heavy-hitting Pokemon. In the wild, their pack is headed by a council of both the strongest and wisest Tormarine, who are in charge of guiding the group along migration ways and training the young. Although pods of Tormarine, Armortal, and Argortal used to be commonplace, their numbers are dwindling due to pollutants, as they only inhabit the clearest waters. Alright, now for the part that I've been thinking about for months, honestly. The map. This took me just too long, to be honest. It might be the longest digital piece that I've ever done up to this point. It took me well over 10 hours. I'll show you the full map here, but I'll explain the individual locations as we go through them during the series. This region will be named the Trepor region, as its name is a portmanteau of tropical exploration, as that's exactly what this region is going to be all about. I included islands from both the US and British side of the Virgin Islands. For our journey, we'll start on the St. John equivalent, Pangaea Island. This island has a variety of biomes, and as such, it got its name from the supercontinent Pangaea. The hometown will be called Roostop Town, from the words roost, a word for a bird nest, and treetop. This is because the entire town will be set atop trees in a treehouse community. This, surprisingly, is not something that I made up. The real-life equivalent of this place is called Little Maho Bay, which used to have a collection of tree houses connected by a system of boardwalks that could be rented out by people who traveled there. The first time I went to the Virgin Islands, this was where I stayed. Many things have changed in my conception of the region from when I first came up with it as a kid, but Maho Bay has always been the starting town. Sadly, it no longer really exists in the way it's depicted here. It's still there, but the tree houses have been built over, and it's, I think, a resort now, which is very depressing. So it's, of course, a very important part of my memory of the place. As such, it's something that I would never dream of not including. I'm really excited about this map, as it's a huge step up from my map for the last region, both in a purely technical sense of the art, and also in the fact that it's really, really fleshed out in its little details. But we'll leave those for their own individual videos. Now we go on to design a very important human character. I won't give you his full backstory yet, because I kind of want to keep it a secret, but my idea in my notes was this: a character that is a strong and important Pokemon trainer later in the game. He is the older brother of the main character, and left for his own Pokemon journey 4 years ago. He returns at the beginning of your journey as a way to introduce the player to the world. I took some inspiration from Champion Leon from Sword and Shield, as this character will play a similar role. His name is Ty. I won't tell you why either, because it might give away his true role in the game. His starter won't actually change depending on the one you pick, because he's not going to be a rival, I'll give you that much. His partner is Tormarine, having chosen a Squirtle 4 years ago. But that's all the info I'll give you now, because it's prime time that we start our journey through the Trepor region. Our journey starts, like every other game, in your hometown, in your bedroom. You wake up on a bright sunny day in Rooftop Town to your brother, Ty, and his partner Pokemon Tormarine. He explains that it is no time to sleep in on a day like today, because on today you start your journey. He came home to see you off to the professor's lab to pick up your very first Pokemon. You, Ty, and Tormarine head down the stairs, pick up your bag and running shoes from your mother, and say goodbye and head out the door. You follow Ty and Tormarine down the plank bridges of the town. The encroaching branches lean their leaves over and drip dew onto the walkways. In the south of the town, your group descends the plank staircase into the open air. The three of you come to Sunrise Beach, where a pod of pincurchins scuttle away from your feet. Across the beach, you come to a path that runs north through a small forest that brings you to a singular tall building. You've arrived at the professor's lab. Inside, you meet Professor Fraxon, who tells you about himself and his research, and gives you your choice of your starter Pokemon. The grass type, Foleep, the fire type, Embellion, and the water type, Squirtle. After your choice, Ty comments on it, and the professor gives you your Pokedex. I used the old convention that the Pokemon Company used to use to design each Pokedex. They used to design them off the console that each game was played on, up until Gen 5 at least. And this Pokedex, of course, is based on a Switch. The professor asks you to catalog as many Pokemon as you can along your journey. Outside the lab, you and Ty go out to Route 1, a grassy path bordered on one side by a jungle of a forest, and the other side, a towering cliff that descends into the ocean below. Ty shows you how to catch a Pokemon by catching a Wingull with his Tormarine, and gives you Pokeballs for your journey, as well as an empty badge case. Ty tells you to go through the route in the jungle ahead, and meet him in the town on the north side of the island. There he has a very important challenge in store for you. And so you and your starter Pokemon are now ready to set out on your journey. Alright, that's going to do it for today's video. Although I'd love to go on, there will of course be a few new Pokemon to be found here on Route 1, so stay tuned for that video. It'll come out sometime during the new year. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.